The hard-boiled revolution is in full swing. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Sonic Prime Episode 3. So last time we finally came back into this series, and we saw the continuation of the stuff with the entire Eggman Empire in New York City, and it was interesting because we got to see like this revolution starting with Rouge and Knuckles. We got to see kind of a little bit of how it all began and how they got, like, turned into revolutionaries in the first place. But we also saw that Sonic had a little run-in with Shadow prior to him being sent to this other world in the first place. And so now there's this big battle happening between all the key players, and there's a lot of like really fun moments, like where Nines, I believe is the name, this world's version of Tails, is like fighting the enemies with his robotic tails while still working on the computer and not even like almost not even acknowledging them. But then like when Knuckles comes up to fight, he's like, no, not me. I'm on your side. And it's just like, okay, that's really funny. I do need to address something though, real quick. When I ask a question in a reaction or the afterthoughts or whatnot, most of the time it's going to be like something I'm not looking for an actual answer to. Like I'm asking questions as a way of like processing my thoughts. I don't actually want you guys to answer me, especially if it's something that would be considered a spoiler. I will tell you if I actually do want an answer to something. But like last week, I'd been like talking about like, oh, I wonder like what other kind of like what all the characters from the Sonic games will be in this and everything. How many characters will we get, and how many, like, will we get Vector, will we get Espio, and so on and so on, Blaze the Cat. And someone in the comments answered me. And I'm not going to call you out. I'm not going to say who you are or anything. I'm not going to do that. But I do want to just let you know, like, unless I say otherwise, I'm not actually looking for an answer. I'm processing thoughts, and for something like that, that would be what I would consider a spoiler. Characters coming into the series and everything, who does and does not, I would consider that a spoiler. So again, just be safe, just be careful. Unless I specifically say, like, oh, by the way, I do want an answer to this, or by the way, you can respond to this. Unless I say something like that, I'm just processing my thoughts. I'm more asking these questions to myself than anything. I don't actually want an answer because I don't want to be spoiled. I want to continue through this series and any series I react to as blind as possible. So, yeah, just try to keep careful about that for the future. I just, again, I want to remain spoiler-free as much as possible. So, that being said, we did leave off with, I believe, this world's version of Amy, the cyborg Amy, was about to attack Sonic. And it kind of just ended very suddenly with that. So I'm very interested to see what happens next. Is she going to like finish her attack? Is she gonna like somehow like break through the brainwashing that she's been put through. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to to touch on that. And I was also talking about last time how, like, I was thinking, like, oh, this series is supposed to go through all these different worlds, right? Um, I guess, like, we could be getting to that because this seems like the climax of this, for lack of a better word, arc. It seems like the climax of this part of the story, so we might be, like, moving on to another world. I was thinking it was going to be like a different world each episode, maybe each 2 episodes, but apparently that's not quite correct. Apparently it's going to be done in sort of like an arc fashion. Um, Arcs as in like anime arcs and story arcs and everything. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, you have a story arc that lasts for a certain number of episodes at a time, and it's just a matter of like how long each one will last. They're not always necessarily going to be the same amount of time. But anyway, anyway, maybe we should just get on with this and see what this episode has in store for us. So, let's check it out. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, yeah, I think this is the end of the, I guess we'll call it New York City arc. Because we had Sonic, with the help of the others, get to the energy source, which is part of the prism. And at the end, we see Sonic, like, grab it and be sucked into it. Which I presume he's going to be just sent to another world now. Which is interesting for a number of reasons. Because that means, like, this world is obviously going to, I guess, continue on. So you gotta wonder what's gonna happen to Nine and Rebel and Nux and everyone. Because Sonic, like, from Nine's perspective, just fucking disappeared. But with the fact that, Rusty Rose wasn't able to be turned back, that's really fucked. Like, that's really, like, insanely dark. Now, again, I think I talked about this last time, but, like, to have a living person, like, turned into a cyborg to the point where they have, like, no self-consciousness left and are just, like, a robotic tool to be controlled by a villainous, evil roboticist is insane. Like, for a show that, let's be honest, is marketed towards kids, a show that is meant to be, like, viewed by a younger audience, that's really dark. Like, yeah, of course, parents will watch this with their kids, and adults will watch this who are just fans of Sonic and everything. But still, this is generally meant for a more younger audience, and it's like, to have something that intensely, like, dark put in, it's like, I'm sure kids won't fully understand it, but Jesus. We see a little bit more of the flashback stuff in this. Nothing too, like, important at the moment. but it really hammers in that that Sonic is kind of like, in a way, retreading his same steps, and that everything has been like his fault. Everything was because of him in the first place. We see that Sonic finally realizes this and is able to take accountability. That's definitely what he wants to do now. And I really like this for his character development, show, because Sonic in a lot of media is usually shown to be very, like, he doesn't think things through. He doesn't think things through. He acts on instinct, and a lot of the times he doesn't listen very well when he's told something's going to go wrong or he shouldn't do something. And when you like when most of your Sonic intake has been through the live action movies lately, he's portrayed differently there. That's undeniable. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I want to make that clear right off the bat, because there are some people who try to act like, because he's a little differently, a little more mature at times, and definitely just isn't as, for lack of a better word, childish or immature. Um, because of him being notably different, a lot of people just automatically say he's bad. I've heard a lot of fans like complain about the Sonic movies, the live action films, because he doesn't act like they want Sonic to act, basically. I personally actually like it better in how he acts in the live action films. He acts a little too immature, like in most content, I feel, to where he comes across as a little bit unlikable. Not like completely, but a little bit unlikable. And I just wish he, like, I like him better in the live action films, because he still feels immature and childish at times. There's still things he does that is like, oh, he should not be doing that. I mean, that happens in Sonic 3, for sure. But at the same time, it's like, it's reeled in enough to feel less annoying and more genuine. Like he feels more like a dumbass kid who's trying to do his best but makes mistakes along the way. In a lot of the media, he just is an annoying brat, if I'm being honest. And I think the issue is there's a lot of fans who just don't like change, who don't like characters to change at all or be better than they're initially shown to be, because they don't want the character, because they feel like the character has to remain a certain way to be the character, which is stupid. It's ridiculously dumb. Because characters should be, in different media, portrayed differently. Like, you watch anything from the MCU, it's like, this is not how these characters are in the comics. Like, the Chris Evans Captain America is not the Captain America from the comics at all. Robert Downey Jr. Tony Stark, not the same. There's elements of that still, but they're not the same. And that's what you get, like, with the live action Sonic. The Sonic we get here seems to be kind of like bridging between those two versions. He definitely has a little of the annoying brattiness, but he also shows a little more maturity and just ability to grow and change, as we see here. So it kind of feels like it can appeal to both ends of this, to those who like Sonic to be more like in the movies, or those who like Sonic to be more like in the games and whatnot. This feels like a good compromise. So I can dig that. And I like how the other characters are portrayed in both of these different worlds we get to see. And I'm very interested to see what else we get in terms of that. I said it before, I think I said it last time as well. I think there's like a pirate world, from what I remember from like the trailer I saw. That's all I remember. But it's like, that's interesting, and how's that going to like be explained? Because I assume each of these parallel worlds are going to be explained through like something being fucked up. Like one little thing goes different or wrong, and the entire world changes. Like obviously with New York City, um, this world had multiple Eggmen for one, and they took over because basically there was no one to stop them. I wonder if any of these other worlds are going to have another Sonic, though. That's a real interesting question. Because Sonic's the one traversing into the worlds. Is that going to mean he takes the place of, like, any possible Sonic? Or, like, these other worlds don't have a Sonic because of that? Or is it going to be the case where he actually ends up meeting another Sonic? And Shadow, we still have to figure out what his deal in all of this is going to be. Because Sonic has been seeing, like, some visions of him, and it seemed like more than just memories. He's definitely going to be coming into play somehow. I just don't know how and when. They're definitely setting up quite a bit here. But I do think the New York City, at least for now, the New York City arc is done. Because with Sonic getting sucked into the crystal, I think it's going to move on to another world. I'm definitely excited to see like all they can do with this, because there's a lot of possibilities. And if I remember right from what it showed of the prism there, it looked like it had like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 different parts jutting out of it. So that could lead into how many worlds there are. Now, we also know there's 3 seasons, so I'm wondering if, like, I don't think we're going to get to all of them this season with the pacing we've had so far. So I assume all of these worlds are going to be throughout all 3 seasons. I'm excited, though. I'm enjoying this a lot. It's a lot more mature and dark than I expected. And yes, I know Sonic can get mature and dark at times. But this is just more so than I expected, in ways I didn't expect. So, I'm very curious to see how this continues on now, and then eventually how it all ends. But, for the time being, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode. And remember, no spoilers. Even if I ask a question, unless I specifically say I want an answer to it, in some way, shape, or form, please do not answer it. But let me know your thoughts on this episode and everything down below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.